Hi, it's Lisa with an art journal page today. A few weeks ago I had a question asking me if I put gesso on my art journal pages. And I responded that I had tried that early on in previous efforts at art journaling, and I really couldn't tell that much difference in using gesso versus not. And it did warp the pages just a little bit, and of course it took an extra step. So I had opted not to do that. And I'd always been pleased with my results. But I got to wondering, since I'm using different art journal paper, I'm using the Strathmore books now, and I'm doing a lot of things with my jelly plate, that maybe the gesso would be a benefit. And I know a lot of people do gesso their pages. So I decided to do a spread here where I'm going to gesso the right-hand page, and this is just gesso from Hobby Lobby. I can't remember, Masters Acrylic or something like that is the brand name. It's not an expensive product. So I put that on the right hand page, and we're going to do a lot of different things with it. I'm going to be using some mist and some paint and markers and lots of different things. So the gesso is dried on the right side now, and I'm misting with Studio Calico Mist over this Crafter's Workshop stencil. And then I'm adding a little bit of homemade mist, which is some Baja Breeze Stampin' Up! Ink and water. And I had a little extra left over, so I'm just going to put that on another page for a future project. And I can already see a difference, and it took quite a while for the mist to dry on the gesso page. It soaked into the non-gesso page very quickly, but on the right-hand page it beat it up more, and it took longer for it to dry. So the mist I like better on the non-gessoed page. Now let's try some jelly plate with one of the small minis. This is one of the rectangular ones. And I'm trying to do some of the same things on each side of this page. This paint is a golden open acrylic. And you can see that I got a more distinctive design on the gesso page and a little deeper color design on the non-gesso page over on the left. And now we're using some, I believe this was distress paint. And now some Martha Stewart paint. This is one of her high gloss paints. And my design didn't come out really great on either page. I was using bubble wrap, and I think I just had too much paint on there. And of course sometimes I'm stamping off on the other page, so it's not a perfect one-for-one comparison on everything, but I am still getting an idea of the difference in appearance. It's more noticeable at this point with the misted stencil there than it is with the paint. The paint is not really that different right now in appearance from the gessoed side and the not gessoed side in my experience. Some of these little stencils I'm using are just some little die cuts that I made on the silhouette using stencil material that I buy at Hobby Lobby back in the stenciling department where they keep the normal home stencils. Just kind of filling in the rest of this. And one more Martha Stewart paint. I do notice though a difference in how long things take to dry. Everything over on the gessoed side takes a lot longer to dry than the non-gessoed side. Now I didn't use the heat gun to dry things, and I could have, and that would have speeded things along. I just wanted to get like a half a print on each side. I don't want to cover up my misted area there. And you'll get to see this close up again later on. Here it goes. You can see it a little bit closer. You can see there's a little more shine to the gessoed side. Some of that shine stays with you, but mostly it's shiny because it's just not dry. And I hadn't even realized how not dry it was until I went to put this stencil. This is another thing that I just cut on the silhouette, some leaves. I've had it for quite some time, and it's gotten all crumpled up in my stencil storage. This one's stored in a drawer still, and it's kind of wrinkled up. So I'm using some adhesive just to hold that down temporarily. Although that's permanent adhesive, it's not going to stick all that great to this paint, fortunately. So I'm holding it down so that I can go around it with a marker. It's a Faber-Castell pen. And this left page that did not have the gesso on it, the paint dried pretty quickly. And I was able to go over that with the markers. Now over on the right side, you'll see I still have my stencil there, or my mask is really what it is instead of a stencil. And it's there because some of that paint has not dried. I couldn't go around all the leaves with the marker because they just had not dried and the marker wasn't able to stick to them. So I'm kind of having to let the right side dry while I work on the left side. I'm using Faber-Castell big brush markers. Now here is where because this paint, there's paint there and they glide over the paint, but they don't glide over it as well as they're going to on the right side. So what I'm doing is just blending everything in. And what I'm going to have over here on the left side of the page is a more matte finish to the leaves. And on the right side, I've got ink on my hands because nothing's dried as well as it did over on the left-hand page. And I left time between this. I didn't do one thing right after another. I went off and fixed lunch and came back and did different things. And so I got stuff done, but it was slower. Now what I'm using is some gelatos, and I'm using those to shade. Just putting the gelatos down and a little bit of water on my brush to blend the color in. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading with that light gray gelato under each of the leaves. And I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. I don't think I filmed that part, but that came out pretty much the same from one side to the other. What's different is the leaves are glossier over on the right side even after they have completely dried because of the gesso base. And the markers blended better because of that. So things dry a lot faster if you don't have the gesso. You get a more matte finish, but you get better blending if you put the gesso down first. So I like the stencil appearance better without the gesso. So I'm still in the don't gesso the pages camp, just as far as what I like. I shouldn't say don't. I prefer them without gesso on them. It's one less thing to do, less stuff to buy. I don't want to buy white paint. I want to buy bright, colorful paint. So it's just one less thing to do. So I like it without the gesso. But that's, again, a matter of preference and what you like. So here's my finished page. And thanks for watching today. And you'll have to leave me a note as to whether you like gesso or you'd rather leave it off.